So, Professor Louri.
Thank you. I think I will be more focused than the other speakers in the sense that I will concentrate on the need of the union I know most about, which is the banking union. The lack of the banking union has been detrimental for the Greek banking system during the crisis. As the deputy governor of the central bank from 2008 to 2014, responsible for monetary policy, i.e. ELA funding, mostly in this period, cash management, that was a disaster. I mean, we are a country where something like 50 billion go around in cash out of, 120 billion deposits. It's 40% of deposits are in cash, circulate in cash in the country. I mean, you have to compare it with the average in the EU, which is around 6%. So you can understand what kind of task that was. Okay, let's see. And also responsible for bank resolution. We had to resolve 13 banks in 2 years, which increased the concentration of the banking sector, the concentration ratio in terms of assets of the 5 largest banks increased from 60% to 95% today. There has been a huge consolidation of the banking sector in Greece. So Greek banks, I mean, how did it all, I mean, this is the crisis picture. So how did this all happen? Why? Greek banks were hit by the perfect storm during the crisis. First, they lost half of their deposits. Out of 240 billion, deposits went down to 140 in 2012 and 120 in 2015. Half of deposits fled the banks. A lot of them are in cash. As I said, it's around 50 billion in cash. Now it's less. And many of them went to safe countries like Germany, like Netherlands, like the UK, and a little maybe went to Switzerland, but most of it went to Eurozone countries. So first, they lost half their deposits. Second, they lost more than 50 billion from the PSI, which in a sense erased their capital. That was in 2012. Spring 2012. And the third catastrophe was that almost half of the loans developed in non-performing. I mean, if you can imagine this, perfect storm, sometimes I still wonder how the banking system is still alive. So part of the second and the third loan programs were supporting for the banking sector, and more than 50 billion have been used to support the sector, which still is undergoing another stress test, the number 5, 6, I'm not sure which one, and probably there will be more capital needs coming out of this stress test. So what would the banking union do to avoid this catastrophe? Well, okay, if we had a common supervision, that would have increased the faith in the banking system. And that would have helped, certainly. And thank God we have that since 2014. We have the single supervisory mechanism in place. If we had a common resolution mechanism, that would have helped, market discipline, bank discipline, through the credible threat of, the resolution firepower being ready there. And thank God we have that now since 2015, which is, the single resolution mechanism. These are the two things which have been done between 2012 and 2014. And since then, we are discussing what is missing from the banking union. So what I think is missing is, first, the common deposit guarantee scheme fund, which would have reduced uncertainty back in the crisis times and would have saved some of the deposit flight from the country. It's been a terrible pain to be at the central bank and see deposits fleeing the country at the rate of 1 billion, 2 billion a day in crisis peaks. So we would have saved a lot of that if we had some kind of joint guarantee. And so a third pillar is missing, which is the common deposit guarantee fund or scheme. And I would suggest that the fourth pillar would be very, well, helpful in terms of a European asset management company. What's the biggest problems, the problem of the banks today, not only of Greek banks, I mean, of course of Greek banks, but of European banks in general? It's the high level of the non-performing loans. But non-performing loans, we know from research all over the world that they are due, the most significant factors creating NPLs are the recession and unemployment. Bank management quality plays a role, but elasticity is much lower. So if you continue to have lack of growth and high unemployment, NPLs will be there. So I would think that, and I mean, okay, we have, what do we do about NPLs now? We have a mountain of NPLs in the EU, NPLs close to 1 trillion euros, and we have the SSM, imposing ambitious targets and pressing the banks to reduce this mountain of NPLs, and banks are trying. But what's the problem there? The problem is there is no market for NPLs because of asymmetry in this market. There is no real market to buy and sell NPLs. Hence, there is a price wedge between the bid and the ask price. So banks do not want to sell because if they sell to funds, it may be at 5% of the value of this specific asset. Then there is also banks have in their books another price, and there is also the commercial price of the asset. So you have, it's a problem, of a lack of a market, which if it were there, it would be very helpful for the banks to get rid of some of them assets at more reasonable prices. And of course, if there was some kind of, asset management company, that company could even make profit out of using its synergies to, manage these assets. So to cut a long story short, I believe banking union is necessary. I believe the first two pillars are there, and we are very happy they are there, and they have created, they have increased the faith in the system, but we still miss the other two pillars, and I think the major argument in favor of these other two pillars is that they will improve the efficiency of the system, and they will help banks resuming their role of providing, expanding credit to the economy and helping growth come back in countries which are terribly hit from the crisis and, mostly the periphery countries. Thank you.